Next man up, 1025 The Game. Happy Thursday, Nashville. Jake Lyman, joined as always on Thursdays by ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter Turron Davenport in studio. Parker Kelly behind the glass. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Oh, that's me. There we go. TD, how's it going?
Hey, man, life is good, man. How's everything with you?
It's good. It's good. We are I'm ramping up towards Vandy women's basketball season. We got a scrimmage on Monday and then leave for Paris in 6 days because
Really?
we start the season over there. So, getting everything in order, but it's a busy time of year. Excited for this weekend. College game day in town for Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Commodores with the top 15 matchup. We'll talk to Andrew Allegretta at 11:30 today, not his usual 11 o'clock spot. But plenty of Titans talk as well. Titans heading up to Indianapolis, 14.5-point underdogs against the Colts, who, as of now, have the best record in the NFL. Titans, the worst offense in the NFL. So
13.7 points a game.
Less than 100 points in 7 games. Not great.
Not good at all.
Let's start with Cam Ward today. Lots to get to on the Titans. Before we start on his game on Sunday against the Patriots, yesterday in the press conference, he got to quizzing you guys. He let you guys ask the questions first, and then it was his turn to ask some questions. I thought that was pretty funny to show you guys. I mean, I don't know how they're able to do that and memorize what everything means on every single play. Like, that is one of the most impressive things about these quarterbacks for me, because, if you're a wide receiver, you just got to know what your route is on that play.
Yeah, certain code words.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
it's like, all right,
right.
that's what I'm doing on this play. Quarterback has to know what everybody's doing on every single play and has to be able to recite those back. So I thought that was pretty funny. Paul Kaharski said no chance that he could recite that back to him.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. We got Parker in the house. Parker's a quarterback.
Yeah, there you
Parker,
go.
What's the most extensive play call you can remember?
Oh gosh, you're making me go back a little bit. It'd probably be high school. Our high school playbook was actually more complicated than the college one, because college, our shortest play call, we could go quads, verts, and that's it. And we would do hand signals, and the hand signal would just be this. If you can't see me, but that's what it would be. So it would be really simple. So let me see if I can remember a high school play call. We had we could go trips right, 22 Impala, Y cross, X upright. That's
I mean, that's still.
So you got stuff tagged on there.
Yeah.
I used to always love when they say that, like X curl or X7, X8 is like, all right, let's go. Let's go.
It's super impressive. And, the plays that he was reading off, and I love, he's going, this is base offense, guys. Like, come on. Mm-hmm. It's like, they're all going to be very difficult.
But see, he said it fast. If he would have just said it.
Right.
And because I almost got the first one. The second one I got, but it was something. It was because I was mumbling it to myself because I wasn't going to dare pull the attention on me.
Right?
You know what I mean?
You don't want the camera pointing to you.
Yeah. Have me on NFL their social media.
I couldn't understand what he was saying. That was my problem.
That was the issue.
It was like I couldn't make out what he was saying.
Yeah. The second one, he said it extra fast. But it's all good. It was a fun exercise. This way you get to, see like actually what a quarterback has to. And you know what they do? They sit there and they look at it and they read it in the mirror. You know what I mean? And then you got to be able to, you read it to yourself in the mirror. That's how you practice it. And it becomes just like a second language.
Yeah, I remember the first season of Quarterback, they showed Marcus Mariota working with his wife on it in their kitchen. Really? And she was just reading a play and he had to recite it back to her exactly as she said it. So, that's something that you don't think about a ton with these quarterbacks, but really funny stuff from Cam Ward. And I think it shows you that he hasn't lost any confidence, and he seems to still be in high spirits despite how the season is starting.
Well, see, and that's the good part of the young man, the mental makeup, and there were some things about the offense being quote unquote simplified for him. No, it wasn't simplified for him. It wasn't simplified. It was streamlined. You know what I mean? And this is a kid, as I said in the preview show, he was in 5th grade and he knew the Houston Gamblers playbook.
Yep.
You know what I mean? His dad gave him the Houston Gamblers playbook. So this isn't some dumb kid. The thing that I like about it is, and he always says it when you ask him, he'll tell him, well, this isn't the worst football experience I've had. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
mentions his dad having to get up and go. He's like, why can't I do something I love? So I say all that to say he's strong enough mentally to work through this process. It is a tough process, but it's not a loss, it's a lesson.
Yes.
That was really key. Xavier Restrepo said that. I asked him about his wins and losses, not being able to play in games, and he said it's not a loss, it's a lesson. So I'd imagine Cam has that same approach, being their Miami ties.
Yeah, we talked about catching the strep last week, and he did not get called up. This week he's working as Michael Pittman, it looked like, in the practice squad.
Last week he was Keyshawn Boots. I guess he gave him a foreshadowing of what happened in the game, right?
That's true. I mean, maybe L'Jarius Sneed had trouble covering him in practice too. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you have thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. As always, at 10 a.m., your chance to talk to TD. So get your questions in for Turron Davenport. We'll get to those in the second hour. Looking at Cam Ward's performance on Sunday, it's disappointing because I think there was some good, especially early on. You saw a little bit more rhythm. They were moving the football early, the big play to Chim DK for the touchdown. But of course, that's all going to be overshadowed by the play that ended up kind of putting the final nail in the coffin for that game. Another unforced error where you just drop the ball, ends up being a scoop and score for the Patriots. How concerned are you about the fumbles? And outside of that catastrophic play, how do you think Cam Ward was able to take another step on Sunday against New England?
So that play, it does cause some concern. And I mean, I'm not big on the hand size thing, but his hands are 9 1/8. Okay, they're under 10, so that's if you're it's measurable guy,
stereotypically small.
Yeah, it's something to look at. But I think when you look at the NFL ball and the college ball, it's a little bit different as far as the size is concerned. I asked if it was a matter of him pressing, and they're not saying that. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It just has to get better, and maybe more two hands on the ball, and then right when you're about to throw. But when he was about to throw it, that's when it came out. So it's hard to really, because he's had 5 lost fumbles this year. He had 3 all of last year.
Right.
13 over his career. You know what I mean? And we're talking about a guy that played 50-plus games. So it's hard to figure out exactly what that one is. But if you look at just the game overall, there were more issues than just that. He's still having issues getting his footwork timed up with the route progressions, working through the route progressions and those things. He told me that the game is slowing down, but it might need to slow down more, because you look at that sequence right going into halftime.
Yeah.
First of all, they should have
called some timeouts.
Yeah, you got 3. You can't take them with you. Go ahead and burn them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least, if anything, for the sake of regrouping and figuring stuff out. But there was a play where Tajay Spears hooked up right over top of the center, and the pocket was clean.
Yeah.
I'm talking about clean. He saw him. He didn't throw it. And Tajay catches that and runs 10, maybe 15 yards. And now you're in time to burn it. You know what I mean? And then get Sly out there. But instead of, he looked at it, instead of throwing it, he scrambled to his right. That changed everything. It ran Tajay, because he's going to roll with his quarterback. He ran, and he didn't have to run. Tajay going to go with his quarterback, and it ran him into coverage. It was an incompletion, and now, so those types of things. He didn't connect. There was a choice route for the interception. It was a choice route for Chig. He didn't connect there, and, ended up getting tipped and intercepted. He missed Io Manor on a similar type of concept. Right along
that first drive of the game.
Yeah, so these are things that he has to get better. Am I white gloving him? Yeah, I am. But this is what happens when you're the quarterback, when you're the number 1 pick.
Right.
There are issues and there are throws that you absolutely have to make. And that's what Mike McCoy said. He said, there are throws that you can't miss. That one to Tajay, you can't miss. That one to Chig, you can't miss. That one to Io Manor, you can't miss.
Yeah.
Those have to be completed.
I also noticed the play before the touchdown to Chim. It was maybe Cam's best throw of the day in tight coverage. But if you watch that play, I can't remember if it was Pollard or Spears, was releasing and had no one around him. Like, you dump that off, it's the same result, but a much lower risk play.
Yeah.
It's just those things with Cam of, Brian Callahan called him a hunter, said he wants to hunt the plays downfield. They have to find ways to get him to just take what the defense gives him.
Yeah. Well, you did you hear what McCoy, because I asked him about that. Like, how are you getting him to be able to come off that deep read when it's not there and take was given?
Yeah.
And he said that they're actually taking away some of the things in practice.
Yeah.
Now, Cam said he wasn't aware of that. So I'm not sure exactly how they're taking it away, like if they're telling him he can or what. But
yeah.
It's being taken away, according to McCoy, to get him to throw
maybe
elsewhere.
having Denard Wilson say, hey, like, make sure that nothing deep and let him have the underneath stuff just to train his mind to see that and be able to do it in a game. So far, that's been one of the concerns with Cam Ward, is just not taking what's available to him. And we'll see if he can develop that on Sunday against the Colts. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, Turron Davenport with us for the full show today. Your chance to talk to TD is coming up at 10 a.m. Make sure you get your questions in. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. More on Cam Ward coming up next. We'll also get into the Titans secondary, the offensive line throughout the show. And again, Andrew Allegretta going to join us to talk some Vandy football at 11:30. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday morning. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. That was Mike McCoy yesterday talking about ways they're trying to emphasize ball security with Cam Ward in practice after back-to-back weeks where he just dropped the ball while trying to throw it. And in that Raiders game also had the ball knocked loose, set up a touchdown for Vegas on the 2-yard line. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. TD, is that your biggest concern with Cam Ward right now, is just taking care of the football? We've gone through it this week that he has 10 turnovers this year. PFF only gives him 7 turnover-worthy plays. So I think that's based on the tipped interceptions, which 4 of the 5 have been tipped. But the fumbles are concerning. One time where you drop your hand back to pass and drop it, okay, maybe it's just a bad moment, the ball slipped. But doing it in back-to-back weeks is certainly concerning, and that's something that just cannot happen again, because if it does, that's when it starts to be an issue of, is this going to happen for his entire career?
Yeah, the ball security, I think, is the most important thing. He's leading the league in turnovers. He's right there. Geno Smith, I think, has 11, I want to say, and he has – oh, no, excuse me. He had 2 turnovers, so I believe he's second. You could double check that to be sure, but I'm pretty sure he's second. Regardless, being top 3, top 5, like it's too much. Now, I will say there have been other guys. Look at Peyton Manning. He led the league in interceptions as a rookie. I'm not saying Cam Ward is going to be Peyton Manning. I'm just giving that as an example of, like, a guy could have a rocky rookie year and bounce back.
There are plenty of examples. I mean, I was talking with Corey Curtis. We didn't talk about it on air, but Troy Aikman in his rookie season.
And they were 1-11.
Different era, for sure. But it was funny. My dad actually sent me these stats because we were talking about Cam Ward. Troy Aikman's rookie season, just over 50% completion percentage, 1,700 yards, 9 touchdowns, 18 interceptions in 11 games. Mm-hmm. So, again, different era. We talked about Andrew Luck last week and how he struggled out of the gate. Again, not saying that Cam Ward is going to be one of these guys, but there are plenty of examples of quarterbacks who struggled early on in their career and were able to develop into great quarterbacks.
The most important thing is what we talked about in the last segment is, does he have the mental strength to fight through these initial issues? I don't think Will Levis had it, and I think that's what the problem was.
Yeah.
Levis is talented. Like, there's no getting around it, but it's here.
Yeah.
I think you look at Cam, he's talented, but he has it here. And that's why I believe that he will bounce back, if it's not this year, going into next year.
Yeah, and I think Drake May is a perfect example that we saw on Sunday of a guy who, he had some inexplicable turnovers last year too. Like, there were some plays where you're like, man, what is that guy doing out there? Yeah. And now he's got the Patriots 5-2, and he looks like he is ascending towards being an elite quarterback. So, again, this isn't to say that Cam Ward is the guy and he's going to be the franchise quarterback, but 7 games in, clearly plenty of red flags, but lots of time for him to develop and be able to fix these issues that we've seen through the first 2 months of his career.
Yeah, and I think, the unfortunate thing, he had a plea for stability, and that's thrown out the window, but we'll see if the next person in can bring that stability for him.
This is maybe the most important head coaching hire in franchise history. I mean, they're all important, obviously. Like, you're never just saying, hey, we can get this one wrong. But this one, with all of the investment that you've put into Cam Ward, the new stadium opening up in under 2 years, this one feels like you have to get it right. Because if you get it wrong and the coach fails, the quarterback fails, you're starting from scratch. And you've got to find a completely new core. And that maybe sets this franchise back another 5 years. And you're looking at, instead of a 5-year rebuild, like I think you're in right now, from being the number 1 seed in 2021 to maybe being good again in 2026, 2027, you're looking at 10 years before you end up being competitive for a playoff spot.
You can't have a reset. You got it. Like, this one, you got to get this right.
Right.
You cannot have a reset, because to your point, you're setting yourself back. And you don't want to roll into that stadium with, as Cam would say, a mid level quarterback leading your team. Like, that's not going to sell.
If you don't get this head coaching hire right and they can't develop Cam Ward next year, you're either heading into that new stadium with Cam Ward basically on the quote unquote hot seat of being a quarterback, of like, hey, if you don't figure it out right now, we're going to replace you. Or just a completely different quarterback whatsoever. And you take a guy number 1 overall, you are saying, we think this guy is our quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
And you can't have a complete reset heading into the new stadium. So this is an important head coaching hire. They've got some time to start vetting these candidates. I heard Charles Robinson on with Robbie and Rexroad mentioning maybe John Harbaugh could be out there with the Ravens starting 1-5. I don't know if you saw yesterday, John Harbaugh saying they've removed all distractions from their locker room, the ping pong tables and all that kind of stuff. So there are going to be talented head coaches out there. The team has to find the best one for Cam Ward and the guy who can come in and make sure that he develops into the quarterback that you hoped you were getting when you drafted him. Because again, we're talking about it. You can't head into the new stadium with any uncertainty about what Cam Ward is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You got to know, and he has to be your guy. And look, organizations, it's not always a quarterback that fails. It's organizations failing around him. And we're starting to see like the rumblings of an organization failing Ward.
Yeah.
Right? We're starting to see the rumblings.
It's
like
early, but it's like you're starting to see
it's the early
not a good
tremors,
situation.
or like it's the wind before the tornado. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to get that back on the right path. And I think that's why, you look at guys like Calvin Ridley, you got to get him back and get him involved. You look at Chim DK starting to emerge. They got to get Io Manor back into because that's one guy that's lost a lot of steam, right? He's kind of become a forgotten person. Everybody was going crazy the first
2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
So you want to get those back on track. I think the tight ends, if I'm McCoy and the crew, like I'm calling a lot of plays that call for him to, hey, get the ball to Chig quickly and let him catch and get yards after the catch. Get the ball to Gunnar Helm, getting in position against zone, those types of things. You want to be able to have him get in. He's a rhythmic passer. So you want to have things that get him in rhythm, get some first downs, go some tempo like they did last week, and you could have some good things happen that way.
Cam Ward has certainly shown flashes, but just few and far between, and the lows have been low enough that you're a little bit worried about the young quarterback after 7 games. But again, still has more than half of his rookie season to play and is going to have an important offseason coming up as the team tries to find a coach who can maximize his abilities and also add to this roster around him, because he doesn't quite have enough help right now. And the best way to do that is plenty of draft picks. And we're going to talk about possible trade candidates coming up next. The Titans secondary is getting thin, and there are rumblings that they may intentionally make it even thinner if they send away one of their starting players on that back end. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Again, your chance to talk to TD is coming up at 10 o'clock, so get your questions in on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Looking for a good spot to watch NFL games this Sunday? Well, come by Twin Peaks in Madison, home of the 29-degree beer, and join 102.5 for the pregame show before the Titans take on the Colts. Pregame show is brought to you by Circus Sportsbook, Kentucky, and Tennessee Brewworks. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. That was Mike McCoy yesterday, asked about whether he communicates with the players about possible trade deadline rumors. He said they over-communicate. A long way of saying, yes, we do talk to our players about that. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. It is trade season. We are under 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline, and the Titans are rumored to be one of the few sellers in the market who are trying to offload some veteran pieces and pick up some draft picks for next year. Yesterday, ESPN came out with an article with Arden Key listed, Chigakonkwo listed, and Roger McCreary listed as some of the possible players the Titans might look at trading. And I want to focus in on McCreary because, TD, the Titans secondary is already thin. You traded away Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who is one of your starting cornerbacks heading into the year. Yesterday, Mike McCoy said L'Jarius Sneed is going to miss some time. I would expect that would probably be at least until after the bye week, right? Like that's a pretty good guess of when L'Jarius Sneed could come back, if not later. So Roger McCreary is right now the only starting cornerback from the beginning of the year that you have left healthy and on the team. They trade him away. Yeah, maybe he's the most valuable piece that you have that you could trade away at the deadline, but that secondary may not be fun to watch the rest of the year if he's gone.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a little rough. I think when you look at in training camp, Gay Judy Lally was the backup at nickel.
Right.
I personally feel Marcus Harris has all the tools to be a very good nickel, to be a solid nickel for them. So we'll see if trading McCreary opens that up because Harris played a lot on the outside during camp.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. You got Darrell Baker that's obviously going to slide in to the spot where Sneed was.
Yeah.
But then the dominoes continue to fall down the line to a different phase of the game. Special teams.
Right.
John Fossil talked yesterday or Tuesday rather about, wait, what's today?
Thursday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
He talked. These days start to run together. He talked Tuesday about the depth or lack thereof on special teams. And you don't always want your starting cornerback to play special teams, a bunch of reps there. So, and especially as much as this team punts, you know what I mean? So it's going to be pretty interesting seeing how this whole thing works out.
Yeah, because if you trade Roger McCreary, which I would understand the idea of it, you haven't signed him to an extension yet. And do the Titans view him as a long-term piece of this team? And I would say the answer is probably no, with the fact that they haven't extended him yet. So I get the idea of trying to get some value while you can. That's a player that I'm sure some contenders would want to add to their team for the playoff push. But you also have to look at the impact that it has on the current team. And Jalen Armour-Davis, Darrell Baker, Marcus Harris as your starting cornerbacks doesn't look great. I've been wondering, and I think you would have a good idea about this. What's up with Samuel Womack? Like, they claimed him off waivers, and in terms of statistics, he was actually the more productive player between him and Jalen Armour-Davis, but Womack has been a healthy scratch pretty much every week of the season, if not every week of the season. Is that somebody who maybe plays a factor if they do get rid of Roger McCreary?
Yeah, that's one of the guys I was thinking of that could play a factor. Probably, I would imagine he would slide into the special teams role.
Okay, gotcha.
And Baker would slide out to the left cornerback spot. Yeah, because Armour-Davis has played on the right. Sneed has played on the left, except for when he travels. So, yeah, I would imagine now you're looking at not necessarily any cat coverage or anything like that. So it's just like you play sides and make it happen.
You think Kevin Winston maybe slides in as like a big nickel in that spot and can kind of play half the snaps to replace McCreary if they did trade him?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because Kevin Winston is the guy that I would expect to see. He played 3 reps, right? 3 reps. But listen, on 2 of the reps, like he impacted Draymond Jones getting a sack, and then they used him coming off the edge, and he had a pressure. I figured he was going to be in that package because we saw him. I spotted him. I think it was last Thursday. I spotted him working with Ben Bloom on pass rush moves. I'm like, they're about to start blitzing this guy. So that's a good thing. But to your point, Denard Wilson said that there's going to be an uptick in reps for him. Now, whether or not that affects McQuarrie snaps or Quandre Diggs snaps, I don't know. But it's going somebody like it's taken off of somebody's plate.
And maybe that's the reason why McCreary is being shopped out there, is that they feel like they want to get Winston more opportunities and they can take those snaps from Roger McCreary. Not the same situation, but similar. You look at what happened with Tyler Lockett this week, and Jim DK outsnapped him, outplayed him, had more passing yards in the first half on Sunday than Lockett had all year. So I think maybe that's what you could be seeing, is that they don't view McCreary as a future piece for this team. They want to get a guy who they drafted in the 3rd round the opportunity to start to develop before he heads into his first full offseason as he's recovered from this knee injury. I just look at the decision to not re-sign McCreary and maybe trade him as you're just adding holes to this team for the offseason. And it's fine if you don't think that he's worthy of whatever extension you would have to pay him. I understand you don't just pay him to pay him, but looking at this defense, you need multiple edge rushers. Now you might need 3 new cornerbacks in the offseason. You probably need another linebacker. Maybe you keep Cody Barton around. I don't know. Cedric Gray's 70 tackles this year.
No, maybe James, what's they signed he went to West Virginia. He played for the Cardinals. Kaiser White. He could play.
Yeah. So maybe you feel good about inside linebacker, but premium positions, cornerback and edge, you're thin. Yeah. And don't have top end talent either. On the other side, you need wide receiver. You need an elite wide receiver. Tackle, do you feel great about? And we're going to get into the offensive line a little bit later on. Maybe that's a spot you have to invest in. I wouldn't say a 1st round pick, but maybe a 3rd. You want to add some talent on the offensive line. You might need a running back next year. Like there's just so many holes. And as of now, you don't have the draft capital to go out and find guys to fill those spots, which means you're probably going to have to look in free agency, which, as we've seen over the last couple of years, you get a couple of gems in free agency here and there, but for the most part, the value doesn't match up to what you end up paying that guy.
Yeah, I don't know what the free agent cornerback class looks like because, frankly, I haven't even looked at it because I thought that was an area where they were going to be solid.
I remember we did Jake and TD last year, and we said at the end of the year, we're like, cornerback is the one spot you feel good about moving forward. If Snead gets healthy and you thought you had a Wouzier and you had Jarvis Brownlee showing up and Roger McCreary, it was like, man, corner is one of the few position groups you have guys at. And there's a chance all 4 of those guys that I just mentioned are not on the team next year.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just looking at this, it's not too sexy, man. Jair Alexander, he's, underperforming.
He was out there if the Titans wanted to go get him.
Yeah. Greg Newsome. It doesn't look good, man.
The free agent class in general, and there's always cap casualties that get added to this. So it's not like this is the final group of free agents, but we bring up $125 million in cap space. And where are you going to use that? Like some of the top guys out there, Trey Hendrickson, going to be close to 32 by the time the year starts next year. Mike Evans, I doubt he leaves Tampa Bay. I think he's going to finish his career there. Yeah. Christian Kirk, Khalil Mack, Deebo Samuel, Braden Smith, Travis Kelce's probably going to retire. He's 36. Like those are the top guys out there on the market for this year. So it's like, yeah, you got 126 million cap space, but are any of those guys going to actually impact the team for the long term?
Yeah.
Or are they just, patchwork? Hey, let's patch the tire here for 2026 and then find somebody next year.
Free agent wise, receiver or pass catcher. Alec Pierce is probably the guy I would go after, but I think that vertical threat that he brings, he's going to get some money. And I think that's why he's not going to be back in Indianapolis, because he's going to fetch some money.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And I think the Titans, you would love to take a wide receiver with your 1st round pick, whether that's the pick you end up with or if you trade back. But I think pass rusher is just too desperate of a need.
So here's the thing I would look at. Everybody is on the Ruben Bain train. And look, Bain, he's solid. I will say he somewhat disappeared in the Louisville game, but if you have the first pick, if you could spin that number 1 pick into 2 number 1s this
Yeah.
year, right? And now you get a guy. Watch Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. Watch him.
Okay.
He's number 8. He's a baller. About 6'2", 250. He has 8.5 sacks this year. He had 3 against Utah. Matter of fact, against Utah, I'll post it on my IG stories. Against Utah, it was it was a 3 and out, and it was because of him. Back to back sacks. 6'2", 250. He's a guy that you could get a little bit later, but I think he might be a more impactful pass rusher. Maybe not overall defender
Right.
than Baines,
But
but a more impact. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And then if you could get somebody like that and then pair it with, Mekhi Lemon from USC, my favorite, Jeremy Bernard from Alabama.
Yeah.
You could get those two, and now you plug 2 premier positions with 1 pick, and you turn the number 1 pick into 2 first-round picks, and now you're cooking a little bit.
I think it's pretty obvious that the Titans should trade back wherever they end up. Very likely they're in the top 5. Trading back, if you can get 2 first-round picks, whether it's 2 this year, 1 this year, 1 next year, and then get another second this year. Make 3 picks in the top 50 this year, and that immediately can make your team a whole lot better. And you look ahead and you have 2 first-round picks the next year. That's how you accelerate a rebuild.
Yeah.
And, that's how you start to fill all these holes, which, again, if you trade away Roger McCreary, cornerback becomes thin too. So you've got a lot of premier positions that you have to spend some high draft capital or free agent capital on. And, you don't have limitless resources if you're the Titans heading into the offseason. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, we're about 15 minutes away from your chance to talk to TD. Get your questions in. 615-737-1025. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk about a couple other players who the Titans could consider moving at the trade deadline, which is just about 10 days away. On the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball, we'll get to that next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, wrapping up hour number 1. Saturday's college football game of the week is number 3 Texas A&M versus number 20 LSU at 6:30 on 94.9 The Fan. It's presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circus Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Talking Titans possible trade targets for other teams, and who they could end up moving before the trade deadline comes up on November the 4th, I believe, is when the trade deadline is set for. We talked about Roger McCreary. I think that is the most impactful player who could be moved. The other two that have been listed out there pretty consistently, Arden Key, and I would say he's the most likely to be moved out of the players who've been mentioned. The edge group is already thin with Femi Oladejo hurt especially, but I think it just makes sense to move Arden Key at this point. And Chigakonkwo is being mentioned a lot. Do you think that one makes sense? Yeah, you're taking a weapon away from your young quarterback, but also it maybe opens up an opportunity to see more Gunnar Helm down the stretch of the season.
Yeah, more Gunnar Helm, more David Martin Robinson. But again, David Martin Robinson is a guy they use on special teams, so now you're tweaking that. I personally don't think Chig should be moved. I think he's a guy that they should actually re-sign. It's not going to be expensive.
It wouldn't be that expensive. Yeah.
And he's a guy that is familiar with your quarterback. Your quarterback's familiar with him. He's a guy that your quarterback clearly likes to throw the ball to, because whenever he mentions guys, Chig is one of the first ones he mentions. So there's an obvious relationship. And I understand the whole wanting to make draft picks. But guess what? If you trade Chig for a 5th round pick, you can only hope that 5th round pick can give you what Chig is giving you now. Yeah. So it's kind of like chasing your tail. To me, that one doesn't make sense. Now, Arden Key, go ahead.
I was going to say with Chig, it's like, could you envision going into next year with your top 2 tight ends being Chigakonkwo and Gunnar Helm again? And I think that's a fine tandem. And guess what? Now you don't have to spend a pick on a tight end.
Yeah.
You feel good about that heading into the offseason. If you can sign, I mean, Chig would cost what? Like,
it's not going to cost
it would
much.
be
I'm
maybe
not sure
like
where he would come in, but
3 years, 20 million, maybe, if that.
I that's how I look at it. So that tight end group, I think with those 3 guys, Gunnar Helm, Chig, DMR, I think you could leave that untouched and go back to next year with that. Now, Arden Key, final year of the 3-year deal he signed. He's a situational guy. I think if I'm a contender, like if I'm the 49ers, I'm like, If I'm the Eagles, I'm like, Brandon Graham and Arden Key in the same locker room, that's a lot of energy. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know if Mike Berganzi's going to pick up the phone when Howie Roseman calls, because most of these GMs are starting to learn to just let it ring and not pick it up. But that is something. And then obviously with Femi going on IR, that is an issue. But you look at the emergence of Draymond Jones. Jihad Ward has played outstanding football.
Yes, he has.
The last couple of days, a couple of weeks rather. He's had sacks in each of the last games. You see him rotating in a little bit more. Now, there was a play where he got, kind of caught out of position, and Drake May was able to scramble. But I think when you look at those guys emerging, and you still have Jalen Harrell there, I'm not saying Jalen Harrell is Derek Thomas, but
he is
better. A guy that could give you a part of that rotation. So there are things you could do. Ali Gay, you pulled him up from the 53-man when Femi went on IR. So you could have a rotation there. I don't think that it would be a huge detriment if they traded Arden Key. And if it gets you a 5th, it'll probably get you a 6th round pick. And you know what? That 6th round pick could be something you package with something else to move up higher.
Now you have 3 6th-round picks, and you could move 2 of those to get into the 5th round again.
Look at what they did, to get into the 4th round, back into the 4th to draft Ironman. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that trade is still one of the craziest trades of all time. Like, I don't think people picked it up because, again, it's the 4th and 6th round, but the Titans moved up 5 spots to get back into the 4th round and then moved back 5 spots in the 6th round. It's like the Ravens were like, yeah, if you want to take this pick,
if you want,
go ahead,
man.
Just take it.
Go ahead.
No, but I think you're right. Like, this is all about adding more draft capital. It's not going to be premium draft capital, but if you could add 2 extra picks to this group, instead of having 7, now you have 9. And then if you trade back, you add even more. you can get closer to that number of 30 total picks over 3 years and 12 in the top 100 that Borgonzi and Brinker said they wanted. We've only got a couple minutes left in the segment, so I did want to just bring it up because all of the reports have been Jeffrey Simmons is off the table. That is the only player you could trade and get back premium draft capital. But we saw what that defense looked like without him on the field on Sunday. Your thoughts on, is Jeffrey Simmons truly off the table, or is it more like blow our socks off and maybe there's a chance that he gets moved?
There's always a chance, and you never know what kind of deal could be put in your lap. So I'm not going to say never, but it's very unlikely. I mean, you look, look at the way Mike McCoy talked about Jeffrey Simmons. You know, it's not just when he's on the field, when the offense comes off the field. He is the example. He's clearly someone that this organization is revolving around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you look at Denard Wilson. Oh, he's playing the best 3-tech out of everybody in the National Football League. I don't think he's lying. You know what I mean? And if you look, they finally, in that game against the Patriots, they finally got Jihad Ward, and I believe Draymond Jones and Tavondre Sweat. Those 3 sacks were the first time a sack happened this Sweat coming back, those double teams. You know, that's what Sweat said, man. He's playing tremendous football. I'm looking forward to a lot of one-on-ones, and he has to win those.
Yeah, and you also don't know how healthy Jeffrey Simmons is.
Yeah.
Mike McCoy said week to week for Jeffrey Simmons, which would make you think he will not be out there on Sunday against the Colts. So I'm with you. I've kind of changed my tune a little bit. Early on in the year, I was thinking, you know what? If you could get somebody to send you a first for Jeffrey Simmons, you do it. But I'm at the point with what we've seen from him in the locker room and hearing the stories of him stopping practice and the impact that would have on the team as a whole. I don't know if you do it, especially the way he's playing right now.
And that stop practice extended into the locker room after practice, because he and JC Latham, they were having a conversation. You know, JC had the tablet and he was, you know, Simmons was talking about effort on some plays.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it extended all the way to walking out of the locker room. You know what I mean? So it's very clear. Simmons, I don't care who you are, he's not afraid to come at you. And that's a part of the leadership role. Now, obviously, as a leader, you're a manager of people, so to speak. So you have to know how to hit buttons, you know, for different people. But nevertheless, it was very clear to JC Latham that Simmons was not happy with the effort.
Yeah, the maturity, the growth in maturity from Jeffrey Simmons has been pretty obvious this year. And it seems like the Titans not listening on Jeffrey Simmons as the trade deadline approaches in just over a week. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. It is now your time to talk to TD. We're taking all of your questions over the next 30 minutes. 615-737-1025. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Get your questions in for TD. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingen will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game. This week's matchup is the Commanders against the Chiefs. We'll talk to TD coming up next. Get your questions in here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Second hour, next man up. It's a TD Thursday on the program. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. Broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. It is your time for the next 30 minutes. Get your questions in for Turron Davenport, 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. TD, let's start with this. Justin in Smyrna asking about Xavier Restrepo and what kind of impact he could have down the stretch this season. You know, Restrepo didn't get called up last week. Mason Kinsey got the call up from the practice squad. Bryce Oliver also coming back somewhat soon from injury. Do you think we could see Restrepo at some point the rest of the year, or do you think that maybe this is a redshirt year for him?
I think at some point you may see him. I mean, you look at how last year, like you saw Tate Martin and Mason Kinsey, a lot of Mason Kinsey as the year went on. So I think it's possible. One thing to note, John Fossil, because obviously special teams is a part of it.
Yeah.
Right. And we know James Prochet gives you that. We know Mason Kinsey, actually, it turns out that he's played the corner position for them on special teams, on punt teams. So what John Fossil said was he's going to side with the guy who has put in the time, who has the experience. So that works in Restrepo's favor. But guess what you gain as you go throughout the year? You put in time and you gain experience. So it wouldn't surprise me if down the line he gets an opportunity.
Yeah, and I always want to pump the brakes a little bit of, even if he gets called up and gets to be active for a game, that doesn't mean he's immediately going to be your starting slot receiver.
Yeah.
Like he's probably going to get a couple of snaps on offense here and there, and you'll see what he can do. Quickly just playing off of that, and again, get your questions in. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. You can text or call. Bryce Oliver coming back. Do you think we see him get an increased role in the offense, especially if Calvin Ridley's hurt? Maybe you see him take some of those Ridley snaps instead of Van Jefferson if he is healthy. Although I know you mentioned that special teams plays a role in that as well, because Bryce Oliver is one of, if not the best gunner on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should get some opportunities. You look at that slant, he runs that, he catches that thing.
Yep.
And I don't care who's waiting, like he's going to snap that out of the air. And that's one of the plays that I think has just become a signature for him. So, yeah, I would definitely get him involved in there. He's someone that you know, gives you a steady presence as a pass catcher. But, I mean, make no mistake, his primary impact is going to be as a gunner. But guess what? If you need a kick returner, he does that too.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you want Tim DK back there, you know, the guy who leads the league in all-purpose yards. I know he has probably about 70 punt returns, but still – or rather 70 kick returns, but still, you know, he's getting the yards.
Yes. Jim DK has been great. And Calvin Ridley, when he gets healthy, is clearly going to be a part of the offense. That is the guy you want to be Cam's go-to target. But outside of that, I'm all for the youth movement. Get all of the young guys in there for the Titans. I think Imaner, Chim, Helm, Oliver, those are the guys you need to see what you've got heading into the offseason. Because as we mentioned, I think that's a position the Titans are likely going to spend a high draft pick on in April.
They're going to need to.
Yes. Yeah. You need to find that running mate for Cam Ward. You know, we always talk about, Joe Burrow got Jamar Chase in year 2. Not saying there's a Jamar Chase in this year's draft. There might be one in 2027. But you got to go out there and get a go-to guy for Cam Ward. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Your chance to talk to TD here over the next 30 minutes. Let's see. Robert sent this in, and, less of a question, more of a thought. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this, TD. He says, should have gave Vrabel the power he wanted and got out of the way. I understand the revisionist history of looking back and seeing what Mike Vrabel's doing now with the Patriots, but do you think that there's regret about letting Vrabel go, even though we knew what things look like here at the end, losing 18 of 24? And when he did get the chance to make personnel decisions, typically they didn't end up going well for the Titans.
Andre Dillard.
Yeah.
It's a tough marriage, right? it's always easy to look back after things have gone wrong and say,
Yeah.
you know what? I'd have been better off No, you don't do that.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's
Yeah.
gone. So to me, the best thing to do is just look forward and say, hey, okay, we know what worked. How could we get something similar to what worked, or find something that works, period? And I think that's why, honestly, Robert Saleh to me is going to have a strong chance, because I'm not going to say he's the same level of like boss as Mike Vrabel,
but built in the same vein.
That same similar cloth.
Yes.
Right. And so you get that, and then you bring in a coordinator. You know, we've been talking a lot about the pairing that the San Francisco alum, right? Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniels, because we know he's going to get fired. And then it's like, I mean, look,
right.
Speak the truth. You know, I don't want him to get fired. Never want anybody.
But yeah, I mean,
the truth,
the writing's on the wall.
You know what I'm saying? So I think you look at that, right? That's a good pairing. And I don't know how quickly he would get another shot at a head coaching job. So now you have a little bit of a stability there for your offense, for Cam Ward, et cetera, and you got something rolling in.
Yeah.
Now, my only question, because I would hate to see this organization lose Denard Wilson, you know, so how that will work is another story. But I mean, this is the business, right?
Yeah, and going to be a ton to sort out over the next 3 to 4 months as we find out who is going to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans. But Saleh and McDaniel, I think that's the pairing that's gaining steam the most. You know, Mike McCarthy was one of the early names mentioned, Arthur Smith, but I've heard a lot of people mention that, and I'm wondering if that ends up being the move that they go to.
How do you feel about Arthur Smith and keeping Denard Wilson?
I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't hate it. I mean,
Not bad.
I think Arthur Smith is a realistic option that fits a lot of what you're looking for in the next head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Guy who's done it before, guy who can come in and, you know, maybe he doesn't want to come back and work for this organization again, but I find it hard to believe that he spent 15 years here and didn't at least enjoy his time with the Titans.
And remember, he didn't get fired. Like, he went and got a head coach's
job.
Now, that job in Atlanta, I wish he would have done more with Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
But like, you got Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. It's like,
yeah. And
how do you not do well?
He wasn't using Pitts and Robinson very often. Like, Tyler Algier was getting a ton of carries.
Yeah. He didn't get good quarterback play though.
Right.
You know, Desmond Ridder, a guy I really liked at Cincinnati. That wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The three players that I believe started a game for him while he was there:
Tyler Heineke,
Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. Like, that's sorry, it's not great. And I think that's a large reason why it didn't work out. You've seen he's gone to Pittsburgh and had success.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arthur, if I had to put a percentage chance on who it's going to be, I think Arthur would be the largest, although it wouldn't be high, right? But it just seems to make a ton of sense. Mike McCarthy obviously makes a ton of sense. We don't know what the relationship is between him and Brinker, but if it is good, that one would make a ton of sense. And then I think Saleh. Like, I think if you had to put a top three, that would probably be it, with maybe Matt Nagy would be kind of in that next spot.
Yeah, he's in the mix. Matt Nagy, I think, is in the just now. Who was I talking to? We were walking down to the press conference, and they had mentioned Mike Kafka. And look, I know when he interviewed here, it was a very bland interview. Mike Berganzi seems like a bland guy. You know what I mean?
Maybe
very stoic.
Maybe it fits.
So maybe there's a match there. And then remember, Kafka was in Kansas City before he came to the Giants.
It's a good
point.
Know
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then you're seeing the success that they're having. Well, I quotation marks around it.
Yeah.
Jackson Dart. You know what I mean? So maybe there's something there.
Yeah, and he's been mentioned as like a first-time head coach. Joe Brady has obviously been mentioned too. I get a little bit concerned about that, and maybe it's just the Brian Callahan PTSD, but I think, yes, priority number one is who's going to develop Cam Ward, right? But I think priority number two is building a culture, because that locker room, I don't know if there is a total and complete buy-in right now, because there isn't a vision anymore, right? Your head coach is gone. So I think you need someone who's going to come in, stand in front of that room, and is going to get all 53 or 85 guys who are in there to start camp to buy in on what he's selling.
What do you think of McCoy?
I don't know. Like
he seems to talk the talk.
Right.
Man,
I do think that he is your stereotypical leader of men guy. Like he steps up and he can command the room.
Mm.
He's getting a tryout, right? He's getting an extended tryout. And we talked about it last week. The last 3 interim head coaches in franchise history have all gotten the permanent job, going all the way back to Jerry Glanville, Jeff Fisher, Mike Mularkey. Is it impossible? No. But unless things turn around really quick over the last 2.5 months of the season, I kind of find it hard to believe they're not going to go with an outside hire. But who knows? Who knows? 615-737-1025. We got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but we are going to get to your questions. Get your questions in. You can text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. The number 10 Vanderbilt Commodores will take on number 15 Missouri this Saturday at First Bank Stadium. Pregame begins at 1 p.m. on 1025 The Game, with the kickoff at 2:30. Vanderbilt football is brought to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops, and we will be joined by the voice of Vanderbilt football, Andrew Allegretta, coming up in just over an hour at 11:30 a.m. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. Get your questions in for TD. We'll do one more segment of Talk to TD after this here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly.
Hey, listen. If you are with a woman and she starts playing this type of music, that Mary J., you know she's a woman.
It's time to put a ring on it.
That's grown folk music right there. That Mary J., yes, sir. Good. Hey, that's an excellent selection.
Okay,
man.
so
I
this
like
wasn't
that.
a TD request.
No, it wasn't.
There we go,
TD.
Parker.
Parker just said, I'm going to put some grown folk music on it.
I love it,
man.
I love it. Well done back there behind the glass, Parker Kelly. Getting TD clapping.
Yes,
That's that's a win. That's an A+ there from Parker Kelly. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. It is your chance to talk to TD on this Thursday morning. We got plenty of questions. Let's start by going to our phone lines. Kenny the mailman is on the line. Our good friend Kenny. Good morning. Thanks for calling. What you got for TD today?
Good morning, one and all. TD, always good to speak with you.
What's up, Kenny?
Here's a tiny piece of info. Put this away in your back pocket because it might tip the scales. If all the coaches are equal, Art Smith might have a tiny, tiny, tiny advantage. You know what that is?
What is that?
Free shipping. Hey,
FedEx it.
but the Titans are sort of cheap. You offer them a bonus free shipping to that program, all in.
All in.
Laugh, but you know what? The organization is sort of bland. The players are sort of bland. Do they have to reach for a coach they can stick his face on billboards and radio stations to sell tickets? That shouldn't even come into the equation. But moving into that stadium, if you're 3-14, how does that go part of the equation? Y'all have a great day.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Kenny. I mean, I get what he's saying there of like, you want somebody who's going to energize the fan base. And, I think there's a maybe less than 0% chance of it happening, but like a John Gruden, that's why that name gets brought up, because whether he would still be a good head coach or not, it would energize the fan base.
It would energize the fan base. I think, you talk about a face for the billboard. It's Cam. Like you gotta
You gotta push your quarterback.
He's gonna be the one. And here's the thing: you had the guy that you could use to sell tickets, in Mike Vrabel. That's gone. So, do you look for something similar to that? Maybe, but I think really it's all about, and that's also why I don't feel you trade. I believe this. I believe ownership is hesitant. A part of why they're hesitant, among other things, to trade Jeffrey Simmons is the blowback.
Yeah.
I think there would be a large blowback, because then everybody, all the fans are going to have to acknowledge, like, whoa, this really is a rebuild project.
No, it's a good point, because the one thing we talk about all the time with this team, like the depth is bad, but also there are no stars on this team outside of Jeffrey Simmons, and trading him away, you don't know how that's going to go over with the team. I hate to get away from our questions here. Quickly, T'Vondre Sweat was back this week. He made a nice play on a sack. I know we talked about how, T'Vondre Sweat's long-term future, maybe not what you thought it was at the beginning of the season. How are we feeling about T'Vondre Sweat after he comes back from the injury?
Yeah, I mean, look, he worked his way in. There were moments where you could tell he was fatigued, but he did make a couple plays. I think he's someone that's married to the keeping Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
That's really what you are supposed to be building your defense around, those guys in the middle.
Yeah. So T'Vondre Sweat back healthy. You hope Jeffrey Simmons doesn't miss too much time so you can finally see those guys on the field for more than 12 snaps, maybe less. Let's go to Ron on our text line. Ron says, good morning. Hey, TD. 2 questions. Are the Titans looking for a coach that calls plays, or would they want an OC to call plays? If so, he says Byron Leftwich as OC. Look what he did in Tampa.
I love the mention of Byron Leftwich, and it's crazy because that's another one. He had head coaching interviews, and he's just kind of like falling by the wayside. Right. That is someone that you could bring. I think that would be awesome for Cam Ward too, because that gives you someone that could relate to Cam. As a guy who was the franchise quarterback and a guy who's worked with Brady and was respected by Brady. I think that is a good option. Maybe if you have an Arthur Smith with Byron Leftwich and Denard Wilson, you know what I mean? Keep John Fossil. That's a pretty good coaching staff.
Right. That's a coaching staff that at least inspires a little bit of confidence that they've done it before, and you feel good that they can put a good product on the field. Ron also asks, Second, should we build from the inside out? We need linemen. First pick should be a lineman. Borgonzi has said that too. You want to build from the trenches. The offensive line, you're not ready to give up on J.C. Latham yet, obviously.
Right.
So I don't know if you would go first pick on the offensive line, but we were talking about defensive end feels like a pretty safe bet for your first pick.
I would say impact pass rusher, pass catcher. It is about time this organization does that, right? The highest, let's see what, 8, I would say A.J. Brown is probably the highest receiver picked. Burks.
Corey Davis.
Burks. No, I'm talking about since.
Sorry.
Yeah. So Traylon Burks with the AJ trade, like
that
was the last time you spent
That's the last time you spent a first
day,
or
I want to say a day 1 or 2 pick on a receiver.
Yes.
So you have that, and you look, you haven't drafted a defensive line, like an edge guy in the first round.
Except for Femi was second round. Harold Landry was second round.
But we talking first round.
Derek
you know
Morgan.
what I mean? Been a while. Oh, by the way, while you mentioned Derek Morgan protocol, he has a gym
up in Germantown.
In Germantown, open. I'm going to be checking that out soon. Hey, Derek, I got you. I'm gonna be there. I promise, bro.
Yes, Derek Morgan was the last pass rusher taken in the first round by the Titans. That's crazy. Yeah. But yes, you're right. I'm thinking through it. The wide receivers that the Titans have taken since Traylon Burks, Colton Dowell, Jaquan Jackson.
Colton Dowell just signed with the Ravens too.
Really?
Yeah.
And then, of course, this year with Alec and Chim.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Austin asked, TD, who do you think will be more involved, Chim or Alec? I think this means long term. Like, who are you thinking is going to be the bigger factor on the offense?
I think they're going to be a factor together. Honestly, it's just a matter of time till they start getting Iron Manor involved again. You know, because he's a guy that he does everything you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a willing blocker. He's someone that you can run screens to. He's someone that you could get vertical with. He's someone you could work the middle of the field. In fact, I believe he works the middle of the field very well. So you have that, but it's just something about Chim in the slot running that deep over, man, and you just love to see it.
Yeah.
And they did it twice, back to back, and next thing you know, you're in the end zone. It's about time they call
fire up, ring of fire.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think Alec Iamaner is your more well-rounded receiver.
Yeah.
But and Alec's fast, but Chim's fast. Like Chim's got that legit speed out there, and I'd like to see them use it more often. And I'm glad we saw it on Sunday against the Patriots.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So like Whiteboard Wednesday, I drew that up, and the thing that I like is when you have them on that deep crosser, it worked. Now, if it's quarters, you probably want to check out of it and get into like a 4 verticals kind of thing. But the deep crosser, right? If it's man coverage, I'm trusting Chim to run away from the nickel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If it's zone cover 2, hey, Chim, look, man. See that goalpost in between those safeties? I want you to run to that right there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And don't hit your head on the way. You know what I mean? If it's cover 3, I want you to keep it skinny.
Yeah.
You know, work up the hash and see can you find that seam. You know what I mean? So it's like a 3-option route,
right?
A route that beats 3 different coverages. You know, and I like that.
Do you see Chim's mic'd up that they posted yesterday? That I loved him going through. It's like I got him on my hip. And as soon as that, I was just thinking, run, just run.
Just run. You heard him going to get it, man. He went and got that thing. That was a beautiful catch.
I love when they get the mic'd up because it's like you get to see these guys' personalities. Chim saying, like, I wish I was a better dancer. Like, I wanted to be like Odell when it was growing up.
Odell used to hit that boy.
A couple more questions for TD. Appreciate all the interaction here. Let's go to 3280. TD, I'm leaning toward Matt Nagy for a few reasons. First, the relationship with Borgonzi would signal that he has actual power in the front office. Second, his experience with the development of Mahomes would be invaluable for Cam. And third, he's been a head coach before, so less unknown. Let me know your thoughts.
No, I'm with you. The development of the Trubisky, Mitchell Trubisky. Look, the first year, Trubisky was all right. I ain't gonna hold you. I never liked him.
They
but
went
he was all right
before that year, didn't they?
Yeah. So I mean, you do have that. I think Nagy brings like that degree of jerk also.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. A fellow Southeastern Pennsylvania that gets points with me. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but it's just like, okay, who do you bring in as a play caller? And then, or not the play caller, but your OC. do you call the plays and what do you do on defense? I'm not against that at all. I've been, someone who's mentioned Nagy
Yeah.
as well. So I'm right there with you. I think Nagy, McCoy, Arthur Smith, those are guys you have to consider for it. And obviously McCarthy, rather, excuse me. Nagy, McCarthy, Arthur Smith. Who was the other one we mentioned? Saleh. Yeah.
Yes,
So.
Robert Saleh. You don't really realize that Nagy, I mean, he had a winning record with Chicago during his time there in 4 years. He made the playoffs twice. The way it ended obviously kind of left a sour taste in people's mouth about him, but I don't think it would be a horrible hire if they ended up taking Matt Nagy. Robert texts in Brian Flores. What do you think about that? Obviously, there's some baggage there with the lawsuit against the league, but he's a guy who's certainly established himself as one of the premier defensive minds in the NFL.
Yeah, he established himself as one of the premier defensive minds, but I don't think they have the horses to run that defense.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
a
what
good
I
point.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't.
And
I think and I don't know. It's a tough situation with this team. In my opinion, the best thing to do for whatever head coach comes in, with the exception of maybe Saleh, I think you gotta retain Denard as your DC.
yeah,
You know,
if you could,
so.
I mean, Denard Wilson and Bones Fossil, like I think those are guys that the next head coach should at least attempt to see if they'll stay on staff, especially Fossil. And that's why with Mike McCarthy, like Mike McCarthy employed Bones Fossil in Dallas. So maybe that's an incentive to bring him in too.
And see, that's a marriage I think that will work. McCarthy and Wilson, Fossil. You know what I mean? And I don't know what you do at OC, but I
But
mean,
yeah, if
obviously the
McCarthy calls
OC is going to have a
plays,
lesser role anyway.
right.
You know.
So it'll be interesting what the Titans end up doing. And when you fire the coach as early as the Titans did, you got a long time to talk about it before the interviews even start rolling in. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Appreciate everybody getting their questions in for TD. Again, every Thursday at 10 o'clock, you can talk to TD, and a lot of good interaction today. Vandy fans, it's time to party. The Commodores are ranked in the top 10, and ESPN's College Game Day is coming to Nashville to celebrate 1025 The Game. We'll be broadcasting live tomorrow from noon to 6 at the new Party Foul near Vandy in Midtown at 2031 Broadway. Plus, we will be giving away a pair of tickets to the sold-out game against Missouri this Saturday. So come out to the all-new Party Foul in Midtown tomorrow from noon to 6. I'm very happy that there is a Party Foul in Midtown now. They just closed the Gulch one, and I'm a fan of Party Foul.
You like Party Foul?
It's not I like the sit down vibe of it. Like the hot chicken isn't quite as good as like Prince's, but I do enjoy the vibe of the sit down, and they got some good drinks there too. So I'm glad that there's one reopening a little bit closer to downtown, because the one in the Gulch was frequented by me. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Coming up next, let's have a conversation about the offensive line. Some of it's been good, some of it's been bad. 30 sacks through 7 games obviously is not good. We'll get into it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 1025 The Game. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week is the Giants and the Eagles at noon on Sports Talk 830. The NFL game of the week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Appreciate everybody getting their questions in for TD in the last couple of segments. Again, 10 a.m. on Thursdays, always your chance to talk to TD. Coming up in about an hour, Andrew Allegretta will join us for his weekly visit to talk Vanderbilt football as the number 10 Commodores host the number 15 Missouri Tigers College game day in town this weekend as well. TD, let's talk about the Titans offensive line. It hasn't been good.
No.
30 sacks through 7 games, and some of that can be put on the quarterback as well. But Bill Callahan is gone. I actually think the left side of the line has been fine. Peter Skoronski has taken a step forward this year. I actually don't hate what Dan Moore's doing right now. Like, I don't think he's getting consistently beat like he was early on in the year.
He's gotten better, and especially with the penalties also. So that is a good thing. But, man, $26 million,
Right.
That's what he's going to cost next year. So it's like, yeah, you probably got one more year of Dan Moore. He's someone, so I have a trade candidate story popping. He's someone I considered
really
as a guy that they could look to move. But again, you trade him now, you
have to spend a top pick on the left tackle.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think that you flip Latham back and put Ali Udo at right tackle. You know
just
what I mean?
Flip-flop Latham every year.
Continuing to. So I think he needs to be there at least another year.
Yeah, and we looked at his contract. He does have an out after year 2, and it's not just a little out. It's an out with 0 dead cap. So it's basically a 2-year deal with Dan Moore.
He's gone.
Yes. 2026 will be his last year.
He's not seeing that point this way. He's not seeing that stadium being built.
You found a Band-Aid for 2 years, so you don't have to use your first-round pick on a tackle this year or next year. 2027, hopefully, you have filled in some of the other holes so you can afford to use that pick on the lineman. But yes, Dan Moore likely gone after 2 years, but I don't think he's been as terrible as he was through weeks 1 and 2. He's been average, which is what you signed him to be.
He's gotten better, and the line has gotten better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, and we have to be careful about blaming stuff on the offensive line, right? Because a degree of that goes on Cam Ward.
Right.
And we talked about a play earlier. That pocket was clean.
Yeah.
He had a guy right there.
Yep.
Just throw the ball. Don't flee a clean pocket. You know what I mean? So there's all types of things that are factored into us, but you always point to the offensive line as the initial thing, and it's not always their fault.
Yeah, and I believe both of the fumbles where no one touched Cam Ward count as sacks, right? Like they count as sacks, even though no one actually hit him. So but I
mean, look, like Chason got Kennebon, like he got in there.
They tried to block Chason with Chim DK, which all he had to do was try and get in his way, but he got beat almost immediately.
You can't do that.
On the other side of the line, we'll talk JC Latham in a second, but Kevin Zeitler's struggles. Is that just, he's getting up there in age and, maybe lost a step? Is that maybe a trade candidate if the Lions want to come and bring him back or something like that? I don't know, but he has not been good. In fact, I would say he's been the weak link on this offensive line so far this year.
Yeah, he's had his issues, to say the least. What I think it was the Raiders game. I think it was.
The Raiders game was the one where him and Cushenberry just kind of passed off a free pass rusher to nobody.
Yes. And that was
the fumble, the Devin White one?
White. Yeah. So I mean, look, he's had his issues, and I think age is finally catching up to him. Jackson Slater, keep an eye on him, right?
I was going to ask you that.
I think it's going to slide in. Look, Jackson Slater had a solid camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, was it worthy of becoming a starter? No, but it's like, wait a minute. This is a guy that got late that could end up being something. Typically with these offensive linemen, like especially the guards, like they tend to be guys that were drafted day 3 guys a lot of times.
Yeah.
And they kind of bid their time, and then next thing you know, they're starting. You're like, well, where did he come from? You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're looking at with Slater. This offensive line, although it's not top tier and it's not as good as we thought it would be, I don't think that it's as far off as we think it is, right? Because you got Skoronski playing. Skoronski's gonna mess around and be an all-pro this year.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if he's not a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah.
At the very least, I think he's gonna be like one of the guys on tap, like, hey, man, so-and-so didn't go, that type of situation. But I mean, you look so left to right. Dan Moore, okay, you got another year of that. Skoronski's playing well. Cushenberry, he could play better, but he's serviceable.
Yeah.
Jackson Slater will eventually slide in for Zeitler. JC, the biggest thing with JC Latham, he's got to get out of his own head.
Yeah.
He's got to get out of his own head. He's a very talented player. He's big. He did all the stuff that he did in the offseason to get his body right. Just get him out there. I feel like it's mentally for him. There's something that's not hitting mentally. And I don't know what it is, but to me, that's the case. So I say all that to say the offensive line isn't that bad. And when you go tackle eligible, you bring in a Juku, you could do Udo. They have options, but it does have to get better over time.
Do you think Jackson Slater could end up getting some run at some point this year?
It's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, if you get to the end of the year and it's like, hey, we don't need to see any more of Kevin Zeitler. Let's see what Slater can do.
Think about it, right? I know guys have pride, but if you're Kevin Zeitler, you're what, 30, 35?
Yep.
December 4th in San Francisco, like what?
Like what's the point of running Kevin Zeitler out there?
You know what I mean? So that's those late December games I could see getting Slater. Hey, we gotta see what we got in this kid.
Right.
Let's see him against the opposing team's talent, not what we got here. Let's see him against the opposing team, what he could do.
Yep. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's talk about JC Latham on the other side, because he's 2 weeks removed now from coming back from the hip injury, and it hasn't looked great. There's been moments when he's looked fine. I saw a rep where he kind of disposed of a pass rusher and allowed Cam Ward to escape the pocket and make a play. We'll talk about JC Latham next. The second-year tackle, not having the year I think that he hoped he would have coming into his second season in the league. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday. We'll wrap up hour number 2 next. You're on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, joined by Turron Davenport on this TD Thursday. Talking offensive line, Titans getting ready to take on the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday after falling to 1-6 against the Patriots this past week. And I wanted to get into J.C. Latham because you draft the guy 7th overall, you put him at left tackle to start off the year in his rookie season, flip him back to right tackle this year. And the hip injury has clearly stunted what you thought was going to be a big year of growth for J.C. Latham.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for this. I'm playing devil's advocate because I've seen people say this on social media and wanted to get your thoughts. Moving J.C. Latham to guard has been a conversation. And, with his size and strength, you can understand that, yeah, he might be an elite guard if you moved him in there. The lateral quickness has been an issue for him at tackle. Your thoughts on that possibility, which, it's one of those things where you'd hate to spend 2 top 12 picks on guards in back-to-back years. But at that point, it's a sunk cost. You got to put him at the spot where he's going to help the team the most.
Yeah, I've heard that and I've seen that, and he's built like an NFL guard. Absolutely. I think he's built like a tackle, but, do you do that though?
See, I'm not advocating for it. I think you leave him at tackle because guess what? You move him to guard. Yeah, now you have 2 elite guards, you'd think. But now you got to go spend more premium capital on tackles like you have been for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And I get it. If he's not good, you can't just leave him at tackle to leave him at tackle. But I think you give him every opportunity to prove that he can be a great tackle in this league.
Yeah, the great aspect, I think that part of it, that door is shrinking. But I think good is something that I think that's something he could achieve. I'm never going to say a guy can't be great, but the prospects of that are slimming. I just wonder if another move, like what that would do for him mentally, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This next hire and what you do O-line wise, coach wise, is going to be critical. And I wonder, what it's going to take for JC to get in that right headspace.
Yeah.
That's I think the physical ability is there. You know what I mean? And if you watch him, like even like in practice yesterday, I was watching them work. They were working on their kick step. And like his was faster than he got back quicker than all the other tackles, and of course it's not saying much, but
Right, low bar.
It's still, he was back the quickest. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's disappointing to think that he can't be great because, again, 7th overall pick with a lot of talented players still on the board. But we've seen offensive line depth is just so hard to find. Like it's hard to find good offensive linemen. It's one of those things where you're always going to look at it, and I know people look back at that the Derrick Henry's final game in Nissan Stadium, and it's like, man, they won that game, and it's great to send the king out on top. But if they had lost that game, you're picking 6th instead of 7th. Could have taken Malik Neighbors. It's like seeing Joe Alt and Malik Neighbors go off the board right before Latham, and saying that Latham no longer the idea of him being great is not quite as likely as it is that he's just a good player. And Brock Bowers, who been injured this year, but Brock Bowers going 6 picks later, it's like, man, you had elite players in that draft, and not taking one when you have the 7th overall pick is disappointing.
Yeah, it is disappointing, but the thing I always hate is when you say, okay, well, look what so-and-so is doing there. Well, imagine what he'll do here. Different circumstances, different situations. Like I firmly believe if Corey Davis went to the Saints and Michael Thomas came here, I think the Corey Davis
careers could have flipped. Yeah.
So it's just I never really get into that. It is what it is. Like, this is what you got. Now you just got to make the best of it.
Jeremy in Clarksville asked a good question on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. This team used to be good at finding and drafting offensive linemen. Why has it been a struggle since 2020? I think part of it is just it's harder to be a good offensive lineman in this league. Like there's a lot better defensive linemen too.
The availability is more scarce.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, this is an organization like they drafted Taylor Lewan, Jack Conklin, you know?
Yeah. What, 5 years apart? No, 2 years apart.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is an organization. You went out and signed Roger Saffold. Like that was a really good signing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they made some good moves, but they were unraveled by some bad ones.
Well, yeah, and you can even
injury.
look back to like Michael Ruse and David Stewart. Like this has been a team that typically has good offensive linemen, and they find the diamonds in the rough, and they haven't been able to even find the diamonds in the diamond mine lately. I mean, it's like the top of the draft, they haven't been able to bring these guys in. I mean, you've spent first round picks on Isaiah Wilson, now J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski too, who again, we don't know what they're going to end up being. Second round pick on Dylan Radins, third round pick on Nicholas Petit-Frere. Even half of those guys working out sets your offensive line up for success for a long time, and they just haven't been able to find the right guys.
Yeah, it's been bad. It's been bad.
And that's why we are where we are, where you're looking at the offensive line. And right now, you can see that it's serviceable. Like, I don't think that the Titans have just a disastrous offensive line like they have over the last 4 or 5 years. Like, it's not like Nicholas Petit-Frere just getting ragdolled like he was last year a couple of times. But it's still not where it needs to be. And you're just looking in your mind. You're like, guess what? We're going to have to spend another first-round pick on a tackle within the next 2 years because you're not going to bring Dan Moore back after 2026 unless he somehow develops into a guy you want to play left tackle for the long term. And we don't know what J.C. Latham's going to be, as he's struggled even when he's been out on the field so far this season. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Titans offensive line, 30 sacks again through the first 7 games of the year. And Cam Ward is part of that. And I think the good thing you see is there's less instant pressure when the opposing team is only rushing 4, right? Like
if they overload or anything like that, forget it.
Well, that's I'm blanking on what game that was. It was Denver. It was Denver in week 1 where J.C. Latham goes out at halftime and they just said, you know, we're going to blitz you on every single play. Yeah. Figure it out, rookie.
Yeah.
And
Udo's first rep.
Yeah.
He said, watch out. Watch out now.
What was the clip of the left tackle just getting beat and yelling back at his quarterback? Look out.
Yeah. Yo, that's just terrible. I ain't gonna lie, man. That type of situation, like we go to the sideline, we might have to square up.
I need to look and find that during the break because it's one of the funniest things of him just yelling. He yells his name. Oh, who is it?
We gotta look at it.
We'll find it during the break. It is so funny, and that happened during that Denver game. The back-to-back sacks that knocked them out of field goal range. It was basically just like, hey, we're gonna send 8. You got a rookie quarterback back there. See if you can find the open guy in 2 seconds. And obviously they couldn't. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to talk Titans on the other side to start hour number 3. And again, Andrew Allegretta, the voice of Vanderbilt football, will join us at 11:30 to preview the Commodores and the Missouri Tigers this Saturday in Nashville. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Thursday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. More Titans talk here in this final hour. Than Andrew Allegretta from Vandy Football going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We did find the video. Thank you to Trevor on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, for sending it in. It was Myles Garrett beat the left tackle for the Packers, and then left tackle yells, "Jordan, run!"
Yo, that's so funny, man. The way he said it, big old mouth, "Jordan, run!"
And we've seen that plenty here in Nashville of like, Marcus, get out of there. Will, get out of there.
Yeah.
It happens. The Myles Garrett is obviously a very, very good player. So it just makes you laugh. And they're playing the Patriots this week. The Browns? I think so. So I think you'll get Will Campbell, the first round pick for the Patriots, against Myles Garrett for the first time. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to chime in, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. New York Doug has chimed in with his typical pie flavor question. You've heard about the pie in the face bet that New York Doug has put in with me, that he thinks that Jackson Dart will be better than Cam Ward.
Yeah.
So he wants to know what's your favorite pie flavor, because apparently we're going to get one if Jackson Dart is better than Cam Ward.
When is it to be determined?
Right. That's my question from New York Doug, is like, when is the line of demarcation? Like, is this 3 years down the road? We're not making this judgment after 7 games for Cam and 4 for Jackson Dart. So we'll have to see. Text back. New York Doug can text back in a year, and let's see where we are. Halloween of next year, maybe we'll have a better idea. 615-737-1025. Titans heading to Indianapolis this week to take on the Colts. This one could get ugly, TD. 14.5-point underdogs. The Titans against the Colts. The best offense in the league, the worst offense in the league. You see any chance the Titans keep this one close?
No. Especially if Simmons doesn't play and you got Jonathan Taylor running like that.
Right.
And you got
and Snead, Ridley
Warren playing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was talking to Corey yesterday. Like, whatever your thoughts are on L'Jarius Sneed and Calvin Ridley, those are your 3 highest paid players that are likely not going to be on the field on Sunday. And, whether they're good or bad, it's usually not a recipe for success to not have your 3 highest paid players out on the field.
Yes, this is true. So, no, I don't think it's going to be 2 touchdown spread. Those always amaze me. You don't see those.
It doesn't happen very often. It is the largest spread this week, just beating the Kansas City Chiefs against the Marcus Mariota-led Washington Commanders on Monday night. 12.5 in that game. So 14.5 on Sunday. I think it's, chances are slim and none that the Titans actually win this game, and Slim is waiting outside for his taxi. But can this offense show more consistency? Can we see more of what we saw in the first half against the Patriots? And, maybe you give up 40 points with the injuries on defense, but can the offense put up 20? And can Cam Ward put together a complete game in this one that we really haven't seen his first 7 weeks?
I mean, it's possible, but I just don't think it's likely. It's tough. I mean, the Colts, they're a little banged up in the secondary, so maybe that'll help some. But up front, you still got DeForest Buckner, doing what he does, and Grover Stewart. Like, it's just always the other guy that kills the Titans on the defensive front. Because before it was Stewart, it was Danico Autry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's always I don't see how they go in there and win this game. I really don't.
Yeah, I think that you would be hard pressed to find anyone who thinks the Titans win this game on Sunday. But again, like with Mike McCoy taking over, the wins and losses aren't really what's important anymore. It's about seeing growth from your young quarterback and from some of the young players on your team. I'd love to see Chimdike get more involved again this week, and Elik Ayamaner maybe get a bounce back game. I think that's what you have to be paying attention to if you're a Titans fan right now. Not what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, but watching and seeing the incremental development of your young players.
Yeah.
Maybe not as exciting, but that's where we are at this point.
That's where we are. Hey, question for you.
Yeah.
The largest spread in history. What do you think of this?
In the NFL, I mean, it's tough to get too high, right? Because they're all professionals. All these guys get paid.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's more than 3 touchdowns?
Yeah, I would say 22.5 would be my guess. Higher, really?
28.
28. What game?
It was the Broncos against Jaguars 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that trivia, it came up the media room was always fun.
Yeah.
Because Nick Suss always has random, like if it came down to who I would pick to go on Jeopardy,
Nick Suss.
Nick Suss would be my choice.
His Twitter is a great follow if you're a Titans fan, because it's not like he's live tweeting every play of the game, but he's always funny when he puts something out there.
Yeah. So he had it. It was 28 points, the Broncos over Jaguar. I instantly went to that the Patriots team that was undefeated.
Yeah.
And they were rolling over everybody. But they had the most consistent double-digit spreads,
right?
But it wasn't the highest.
So,
I think they were like 21 or something like that.
So was that Peyton's first year with the Broncos, the MVP season for Peyton? That sounds right, because 2012 was when Andrew Luck got drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So, or maybe it was his second year.
It was his second season.
And that was pre-Bortles Jaguars, because Bortles was 2014.
Yeah.
So would that still be? Was that Blaine Gabbert, Jacksonville? I'm curious now, because 28 points. I mean, that's a college spread. That's an Alabama versus UAB kind of spread.
Yeah.
Let's see, 2013 Jaguars and Broncos. And honestly, I'm curious to see whether they covered it. They did not. The Broncos won by 16 in that game. It was Chad Henne who started at quarterback for the Jaguars. But, man, this is kind of a funny stat. So in this game, the Broncos got to 6-0. Jaguars went to 0-6. 35-19 was your final score. But for the Jaguars, 14 catches for 190 yards for Justin Blackmon.
He was so good, man. You know, he had his issues that took him out, but that was one heck of a player, man.
That looking at it's like going in a time capsule. Seeing these stats from 2013. Maurice Jones-Drew was still rolling with the Jags, 20 for 71 and a touchdown. Noshawn Moreno, 15 carries, 42 yards, but 3 scores for the Broncos. So Chad Henne versus Peyton Manning, and the Broncos could not cover the 28-point spread in that game. It's a good trivia. And we'll see. Maybe the Titans can cover 14.5.
Maybe.
Not likely. 6
over under late run to push
right.
it over.
You know that's
Jonathan
a big number to possibly get the back door there. Like you could be down 20. Let's say it's like 37-17, and you get that late touchdown like the David Martin Robinson one in Vegas. Just throw it in at the end of the game. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Titans 14.5-point dogs against the Colts on Sunday, looking like they may fall to 1-7 before returning home. They'll take on the Chargers next week, heading into the bye week. So more to look forward to with the two-tone blue. 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Couple other games across the NFL to look at, including tonight. We got Thursday Night Football, Vikings and Chargers. Been a rough couple of weeks for LA and Justin Herbert. We'll talk about that game and a couple other of the marquee ones on the NFL schedule this week coming up next. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, next man up. You're on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly, alongside you on this Thursday. Andrew Allegretta from Vandy Football will join us in 15 minutes to preview the Commodores and the Missouri Tigers. Top 15 matchup in First Bank Stadium this Saturday. But a big weekend across the NFL. It starts tonight. Vikings and Chargers on Thursday Night Football. J.J. McCarthy still not quite healthy enough. So it looks like we'll see Carson Wentz go tonight. And for the Chargers, what's going on with this LA team? They started 3-0, 1-3 in their last 4. They lost to the Giants. Their only win was a final minute comeback against the Miami Dolphins, who the only question with Miami is who's getting kicked out first, Tua Tagovailoa or Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, you know what? Soul to Soul had a song. It was called Back to Life, Back to Reality. It was back in the early 90s. I think that's one that applies to this Chargers team. They started off hot, but I mean, they're not among the best teams in the league. You do have a outstanding quarterback, outstanding coach. You got some things working there, but this team is still not one of the best, in my opinion.
Injuries have been tough, too. Joe Alt's missed a lot of time. Rashawn Slater done for the year, so they've had to mix and match their tackles. Amarian Hampton, the talented running back they took early in the draft, also is out for a while. So they've been dealing with that, but not look good for the Chargers. They'll look to bounce back against the Vikings on a short week tonight. Couple of other games to keep an eye on this weekend. Bills and Panthers. The Panthers are sneakily 4-3. Bryce Young seemingly has started to figure things out. They got Rico Dowdle playing like he's prime Chris Johnson out there, putting up 200 yards in back-to-back games. Thoughts on this game with the Panthers? Yeah, I mean, you got the Bills, who might be your Super Bowl favorites out of the AFC, and the Panthers, who have just, slowly creeped their way back above 500.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a game you got to go advantage Bills with, but
it's in Carolina.
And that's fine and dandy. I just think this Bills team will go in and win that one. It's different from a divisional game. You know what I mean? Like when they played the Patriots, you had to slip up. There's familiarity, etc. But I think they win this game. I think they do.
Yeah, the Bills, they've dropped a couple that maybe they shouldn't the last few weeks. I think they bounce back. 7.5-point favorites even on the road. But the Panthers, I was scrolling through the games and seeing that they're 4-3. That surprised me. I knew they had a couple of wins, but they've gotten back above 500, put themselves at least in the mix in the NFC South. And then Sunday Night Football. This is where I wanted to spend most of our time on this segment. Aaron Rodgers facing the Packers for the first time in his career. Packers and Steelers. Lots of storylines there. Rodgers came out and said it's not a revenge game, but I don't know. I think it's probably feeling like a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers, as he's got the Steelers in a good spot trying to take down his former team in Pittsburgh on Sunday night.
Yeah. Anytime you have those quirky type of personalities like Aaron Rodgers, trust me, they're looking at this game and it's like, this is my get back opportunity.
Wants to prove something.
Right. And I think when you look at this, he and the Steelers going there and with them being where they are, it's not all about Aaron Rodgers playing the way he used to play for them to win.
Yeah.
Right. They're figuring out how to win without excellent quarterback play for the whole game. When they need him to make a play, he's making a play. Right. And you look at his numbers, they're not outstanding, but this team is winning, and they're just winning through just solid, good, complimentary football in all three phases.
Yeah.
And that defense.
Right.
Those pass rushers.
TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith on the other side.
Highsmith.
Really good player. Yeah. They and Aaron Rodgers, he's fit into that role nicely of just doing what they need him to do to win football games. Rematch of Aaron Rodgers' only Super Bowl with the Packers. That game, one of the better ones that we've seen over the last. I mean, those Steelers teams that made the Super Bowl back in that era with James Harrison and Palomalu and Big Ben. That was pre-Antonio Brown, but like Hines Ward was on those teams.
Yeah, Santonio
Holmes, our guy Nate Washington.
Nate had to. He was the long distance.
Yes,
that was the guy.
Yes,
but that catch Santonio Holmes made against the Cardinals, man. Now, obviously, Yeah, that catch was
I
something.
mean, that game as a whole, not to
Yeah.
get off on a complete tangent here, but that is, there's been so many good Super Bowls over the last 20 years, but that has to be up there. I mean, 28-3 is going to get a lot of the eyes. And then, Malcolm Butler's interception against the Seahawks. But man, the helmet catch, but man, the amount of plays that I think everybody remembers from a Super Bowl, that one might be up there with James Harrison's pick six and just dragging people into the end zone at the end of the half. Larry Fitzgerald takes the slant and just burns for 80 yards for a touchdown. And then Holmes, obviously the toe tapper that ended up clinching it. Steelers got that win. They couldn't get the win. Was that the next year, 2 years later against the Packers?
2 years later. That was the Charles Woodson led Packers.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And the Packers got that one done over the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers facing his former team for the first time. I heard Joe Rexrode ask this to Charles Robinson. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts. The AFC, pretty wide open right now. The Bills look like they were rolling for a while, but they've dropped a couple of games. The Chiefs started out slow, but they're back above 500 at 4-3. The Colts are 6-1. The Steelers leading their division. Who would you take to come out of the AFC right now at about the midway point of the NFL season?
It's hard not to pick the Bills. My initial pick, the Ravens, is just like,
1-5 it's tough.
Pack that up and put it in the back of the closet.
Lamar should be back this week, though.
Yeah,
right?
I just don't believe in the Colts. Now, of course, that being said, watch them go out and walk the dog on the Titans, but that's not too much of a feat.
I think it's different to say that the Colts are going to be a playoff team, but are they a threat in the playoffs when it's such a quarterback-driven league, quarterback-driven conference in the AFC of like, can Daniel Jones beat Mahomes, Allen, and I'm trying to think of somebody who's actually going to be in the playoffs. Maybe like Herbert, Mahomes, and Allen in 3 straight weeks to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think
it doesn't seem likely. With the Ravens, 1-5, but your next few games, like you could see them go on a run. They've got the Bears this week. They've got the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Browns, the Jets, the Bengals. That's their next month and a half. Not difficult to imagine if Lamar is back and healthy and maybe some of those defensive pieces start coming back, that they could win 4 out of those 6 games. And then boom, you're at least in the mix heading down the stretch. But obviously 1-5 is it's a really tough hole to dig out of.
Jake, I'm going to go with the Broncos.
You're going with the Broncos? Wow.
That defense.
Yeah, the defense.
Tremendous.
Having Benito and Patrick Surtain playing out there together, and you got Hufanga on the back end, and Riley Moss, maybe one of the most underrated corners in the league. I don't hate it.
Coming out
I don't hate it.
But more also along those lines is you got to trust Sean Payton. Bo Nix is not, an extraordinary quarterback, but he's good enough, and they can run the ball.
That's
so
fair.
To me, when you look at a team that could run the ball and play defense, they always have a chance in the game. Look at this. Look at the 2019 Titans, right? And you can look at the Ravens all the time. Typically, that's their formula: running the ball and playing good defense. That's what wins.
Yeah.
Right? And at 3-4, what are they? What are the Chiefs? 4-3.
The Chiefs are 4-3. Chargers are 4-3. Broncos are 5-2.
Yeah, I would say I'm going to go with the Broncos.
Wow. I mean, the AFC, you talk about the teams that you think should be at the top, and the Ravens would fall in there, but look at your division leaders right now. It's the Patriots, Steelers, Colts, and Broncos. Are we in 2013? Like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Go back to having Brady, Roethlisberger, Luck, and Manning as your quarterbacks, and there you go. Those are your 4 teams. But it's interesting. The Broncos, that's a good pick.
Yeah, that win at Philly,
right? That
was a major win.
You also look at their record. They're 5-2. Probably should have beat the Colts, so they could be 6-1. But then you also look at needed a huge comeback against the Eagles, needed a huge comeback against the Giants.
Right.
If it wasn't for Jackson Dart lobbing a ball to Justin Strnad on Sunday with 5 minutes left, they probably don't get back in that game.
Yeah.
So,
but I was told Jackson Dart is just immediately better than Cam Ward.
Yeah.
But Both are good in my opinion.
Both-
Both have bright futures.
Right. I think if we have this conversation way too much for guys who have played single digit games in the NFL, but like you don't have to compare both of them right now. They got time to figure out what they're going to be in the NFL. It's a good pick. I think if I had to go right now, I'd still go with the Bills, but it's such an interesting conference because the Chiefs are they're right there now after winning back-to-back games. The Colts still have the best record in the league. The Patriots are 5-2. The Broncos are 5-2. So lots to sort out. It's a real haves and have-nots in the AFC because you've got a lot of teams above 500, and then you've got the Dolphins, the Jets, the Titans, the Raiders, all with 2 or less wins. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have any thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. But coming up next, we will head to our phone lines with Andrew Allegretta joining us from Vanderbilt Football. He's going to talk to us about a huge win against LSU on Saturday. Game day coming to town this weekend as the Commodores take on Missouri. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you on this Thursday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly with you. Heard this one blaring through the speakers at First Bank Stadium after Vanderbilt beat LSU 31-24 on Saturday. Moves to 6-1, now top 10 in the country. Number 15, Missouri, coming to town this weekend. College game day coming to our city this weekend. And now we go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Voice of Vanderbilt football, Andrew Allegretta, is on the line for his weekly visit. Andrew, as always, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you taking some time.
What's going on?
Not a ton. We are excited for this weekend. I mean, tons of hype around the program right now, and a lot of it stems from that game on Saturday. Last week, Andrew, when you were on, we asked you about Vandy getting back to its roots and to its identity, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And it seems like they did that. They put up 31 points, the most LSU has allowed all year. How impressive was it after some of the self-inflicted wounds against Alabama to come out and pretty much execute the game plan to perfection against LSU on Saturday?
I mean, I think a lot of what Vanderbilt has been able to do throughout the course of 2025 has been pretty impressive. I mean, I think the bye week certainly helps. I think specifically for the game, Jake, like you talked about, the fact that LSU's defense is for real. Like, that is a legitimate defense. Whether or not they can elevate themselves to be, a college football playoff team, I don't know. But that defensive side of the ball with Blake Baker is darn good. And like you said, 31 points, the most that Ole Miss, LSU has given up throughout the course of the season, topping 24 from Ole Miss. The fact that it was, 14 points, I think, in the second half for Vanderbilt against a defense that was giving up 4.5 points in the second half throughout the course of the season. All of it very, very impressive offensively. And certainly that was huge for Vanderbilt to kind of set the tone offensively the way that they did.
We've talked plenty about how much talent has been added to this team, especially on the offensive line. But, I mentioned on the show this week, you and Norm were talking up in the booth of Diego's the straw that stirs the drink, but you still have to have a drink. Diego, that 4th-and-1 play against LSU that kind of set up the game clinching touchdown. What he does on the field takes Vanderbilt from a really good team to a dangerous team in terms of college football playoff implications. How cool is it to see the plays that he makes that really just turns nothing into something and puts Vanderbilt in these positions where they can be a top 10 team this late in the year?
Have you started to see the billboards around Nashville? I saw one driving home last night on Friday. The two-turnt Heisman campaign, I guess, is officially underway for Diego Pavia, which is wild. Not so much that Vanderbilt has a football player that is getting attention for the Heisman Trophy, which I think he certainly well deserves. It's wild for me to see so many different top quarterbacks in college football and the range of where Diego falls on that. We're this far into the Diego Pavia experience, and people are still doing the I don't know about Diego thing or whatever. That's kind of trippy to me. It's like what Norm said on the broadcast. How do you defend somebody that doesn't know what he's going to do? What can you possibly do for that? Whether it's just kind of shaking loose of Pyburn, I still think his touchdown run in which, he got good blocking, and I think it was Bryce Henderson that kind of picked up a late rush, but Diego's blindside feel on his touchdown run was silly. There's a lot of quarterbacks that would be tunnel vision down the field that would just, not see it, get clobbered, whatever. He sensed it at the exact right moment, took off and scored the touchdown. We talked with Clark about his football IQ. And Heisman Trophy doesn't have to just be about throwing for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. There's a lot of things that make a great quarterback, and one of them is football IQ. Yes, did Vanderbilt talk about the first down, get down, slide down at the 2 sort of thing in the huddle during the timeout? Of course they did, but Clark talked on Monday about maybe no quarterback that he has ever been around has taken conversations in the meeting room to the playing field the way that Diego Pavia does, especially from a situational football perspective. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that make a great quarterback. Shaking loose from Pyburn, the first down, get down, all of that to me certainly warrants what we're doing at the moment with the two-turn Heisman campaign that's starting to kind of get its wheels going and hopefully continues versus Missouri.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your elevator pitch would be for him to get the Heisman, but you kind of just did that. But one other thing I think is huge in this is just the way he's impacted the culture and the way it seems like everybody on that team is like, yo, we got a chance to win because we got 2 in the backfield. How much can you like express that and put that into words from your perspective, what you've seen?
Man, it's a good question, TD. Candidly, I feel probably not the best to answer that question. In part because, I don't get to sit there and get inside the brain of, someone that's been in the program for a long time. And Clark talks about early adapters of the program like Langston Patterson and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, I think we all just feel it with Diego. And it's real. I mean, I think the thing that I've said a long time about Diego is that all of this stuff, whether at SEC Media Days, he's talking about, I didn't come back to go 7-6, and he's on Feinbaum, and Feinbaum chuckles about the national championship, and Diego says, I'm not cracking a joke. That's the standard. We use that line in our play-by-play open as well for our broadcasts. It's all real. There's a lot of people that want to be leaders. There's a lot of people that try to be leaders, and it's not so much that they aren't leaders, it's that it's hard to find your voice in that space, a voice that is authentically yours. And I told Diego at one point that I loved what he said in the Netflix doc. As much as that's Hollywood, I love the fact that he said, as much as he heard when he first got here, like, it's Vanderbilt, this game's winnable, that game's not winnable, he said that's not me, every game's winnable. I was like, that was such an impressive full confidence thing to say. He's like, that's real. It's 100% real. And with Diego, it is. I think that's the thing that transcends all of it to me, is everything he does is very genuine and authentic to himself. He believes it to his core, and nothing that he's doing is a put on.
Tell me a little bit about the dual threat ability, because I think that's something that's underrated. I mean, he's one of 5 quarterbacks with more than 1,500 passing yards and more than 400 rushing yards this season. And we're talking about guys like Taylor Green in that mention. So it's clear he's a guy that could do it both, running and passing the ball.
I mean, I think Clark kind of touched on it a little bit. Whatever the rushing statistics TD were versus LSU, a lot of it was designed, and they did a good job. Even when Cedric Alexander had to miss some plays, like MK Young rips off the big run. Like, we don't have the Diego Pavia 3rd down and 7 quarterback draw, 1st down, get down to win the game with 2 minutes left if it's not for the chunk play that MK picks up. Having said all of that, Clark talked about the fact that there are designed pass plays that Diego does a great job and takes off and runs. And it's right back to the whole thing about it's so hard to know how to defend him, because you can't really plan a true structure for Diego. A lot of people would talk about throwing a spy against him. And okay, you can spy him, that's fine. But he's elevated himself, I think, about 70-75% completion percentage this year, where if you're going to spy him and you're going to play in zone defense, there's a decent chance that he's going to find the windows this season, especially with the offensive line that we got. Okay, you don't want to spy him. You want to be man coverage. You want to try to get pressure. Well, great. He's going to field the rush like he did on the 21-yard touchdown rush. He's going to step up and he's going to go. It's not that he's unstoppable. Like, he's a very super talented quarterback. I think his athleticism gets overlooked as we talk about leadership a lot. But, there have been teams to slow him down. But it is really ultra challenging if you're going to be a defensive coordinator and say, what do we dial up? It's not like there's a structure that you can dial up that fits defending Diego Pavia. You need ultra talented people making instinctual plays defensively to slow him down. I think that's probably what you're getting at with the dual threat and the fact that he's so perfectly unpredictable.
Andrew Allegretta from Vanderbilt Football is with us. Andrew, quickly to the defensive side of the ball. We talked about Diego being the straw that stirs the drink for the Commodores. Ahmad Hardy is the straw that stirs the drink for Missouri. How do you see this Vanderbilt defense being able to slow down the rushing attack of Hardy and the Tigers?
I mean, it's going to be hard. We talked about it with Clark on the Commodore Hour 2 back on Monday. To me, the comp with Missouri's rushing attack, perhaps through my own narrow perspective of going to Syracuse, is the fact that, Jim Boeheim ran the 2-3 zone for all of those years. Like, why was Syracuse's 2-3 zone better than everybody else's? Well, it's because they practiced it all of the time when other people just kind of used it as a variation on their defense, and they recruited to it. Well, the same thing is true for Missouri. They've got this really great outside zone stretch run play that Eli Drinkowitz has made part of his identity for years, going back being the offensive coordinator at NC State, and they recruit to it. They get the right running backs, whether it was Noel from a couple of years ago or it's Hardy this year. Like, they always have a really good back that can run this outside zone stretch and then puncture north and south, and they've got the perfect players for it. So it's really difficult. The hope is, in talking with Steve Gregory, the defensive coordinator, what we have seen versus Auburn and Alabama has been a real intentionality to be physical at the line of scrimmage with the running backs and with the offensive line. And it has, to some extent, slowed down Hardy the past couple of weeks after, I think it was 4 or 5 straight games to start off the season at 100 yards, plus like a 200-yard performance in one of his games. He's been about 50 yards per game versus Bama and Auburn. So there have been some signs of sluggishness. I don't know that that's going to continue, but Steve Gregory emphasized the physicality at the line of scrimmage against that front for Missouri. And now it's just up to those guys defensively to get the job done.
Andrew, before we let you get out of here, College Game Day is coming to town and everybody has a take. Who is going to be the guest picker? We should find out maybe today, maybe tomorrow, who's going to be coming in. Who do you think should be the guest picker for the Commodores on Saturday?
TD. Do you want to do it, TD?
Man, I would love to do it, but I will be en route to Indianapolis.
Right.
And you know what's going to be on my mind? That shrimp cocktail and ribeye at St. Elmo's, man. I'm sorry, but,
We can do the first ever phone call celebrity guest.
There you go.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Voice of Turron Davenport.
Idea, guys. I've got no earthly idea who the guest picker is. I know there's PTSD for Vandy fans with 2008 when Kenny Chesney did it.
Yep.
So as long as we don't fall into that category, I think I'm cool.
You would want Bargatze?
I mean, if Nate can do it, yeah, of course.
Okay.
I think that's who it's going to be.
You think it's going to be? I mean, I don't. Honestly, I don't. I have no idea, and this is not meant to be like facetious. As long as we don't fall into like Kenny Chesney / I guess Morgan Wallen would be the current equivalency.
Yeah.
Then I'm cool.
They had Jelly Roll on last week,
right.
So I guess that negates him for here, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna. I don't know. Honestly, I got no idea. I mean, I'd be cool with Nate. I mean, Dirks is a Vanderbilt guy, Bentley, so I'd be cool with Dirks if you wanted to do it. I don't know. Again, as long as we're not doing Morgan Wallen, Kenny Chesney, like Kelsey Ballerini, who fly the orange team.
Right.
I'm cool.
Yeah, the Vandy pimp from SEC Shorts said he's going to be on College Game Day, but not as the guest picker. So there you go. Take him out of the running. Andrew, as always, appreciate you coming on. Can't wait to see you up there in the booth on Saturday and hoping for another big win.
Yes, sir. Talk to you guys soon.
Andrew Allegretta, voice of Vanderbilt football. You can listen in to Andrew, Norman, Jordan, Kevin, Ingram starting at 1 p.m. on 102.5. The game with kickoff against Missouri set for 2:30. We got one more segment on this Thursday. We'll wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Turron Davenport, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, the game final segment on this TD Thursday.
Got
Parker
that Fantasia
going
playing.
out strong.
Yeah.
Going out strong. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. If you have any final thoughts on the program, Chase and Big Joe are coming up right after us. TD, first of all, great having Andrew Allegretta on as always. Make sure to listen in. Vandy football on the air at 1 o'clock on Saturday, 2:30 kickoff. But I did want to get to this. Matthew in Nashville reminding me, because we have not had a chance to talk about the massive gambling news in the NBA. And Terry Rozier has been caught up in this. He's been arrested by the FBI for his role in illegal sports gambling scandal. Chauncey Billups, I believe, was involved with an illegal poker game. And so let's stick with the Terry Rozier part of this. So I guess it was, he told bettors that he would check himself out of the game with a fake injury at some point early and just told everybody to bet his unders. And I just don't understand how people don't realize they're going to get caught with this. Like, there's so much technology and AI being used to track suspicious gambling activities.
Yeah.
They're going to find out.
They're going to find out. You could just put in code words. Like look, this right here, there's a camera and mic. There's a camera and mic. There's a camera and mic.
In the phone. Right.
It's all over the place.
And
you ever see Snowden? Like they have code words that they could cross check. You're going to get caught, man. You're going to get caught.
Well, and when these gambling institutions and they have these oversight companies that do security for them, they see $500,000 coming in on Terry Rozier's unders, that's going to throw a red flag up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can look into it and be like, oh, that's weird. He acted like he pulled a hamstring and left the game and then was fine.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. The same thing happened with who is the Bull? Jonte Porter with the Bulls. This happened about a year ago.
Yeah.
You're seeing
Indefinite, right?
In baseball. Yeah, he's been banned. Baseball. The rumors are Emmanuel Clase is never going to pitch again in the MLB because of the gambling scandal of like, hey, bet first pitch ball and I'm going to throw it 8 feet out of the zone and make sure that everybody wins. It's ridiculous. And I just looked it up because I understand it's never enough, right? Like, everybody always wants more. Terry Rozier's career earnings are over $160 million. Like, what exactly do you need that little extra? Why do you risk everything just to get a little bit more on top of it?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Agreed. What Tony Montana say?
Yeah.
You know what a hassa is? A pig that can't fly straight. That's what Terry Rozier is, a hassa.
Yeah.
He couldn't fly straight, man. And it's unfortunate that his career is going to be stained forever. More importantly, Chauncey Billups.
Right.
You know, this is a guy, he achieved legendary
and
status.
Just got,
with
he's the head coach of the
head coach
now.
of the Trailblazers. Your image, your legacy is stained forever.
Right. And that's it. I think there needs to be, like, gambling is now pretty much nationwide, betting on sports. You're never going to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. They're in the pockets of all the, or they have all of the leagues in their pocket. But I think there has to be some sort of change in what they're offering. Like, how about don't allow people to bet unders on props for players? Like, that would save a lot. And, you know, you're still allowing all these gambling businesses to let you bet on lines and overs and all this stuff. But it just opens the door to all this when you allow these player prop bets where guys can find a way to try and manipulate it. And, you know, you would hope something like this would dissuade a lot of people from trying it again. But crazy stuff in the NBA this morning.
Crazy stuff. I mean, I remember first the Rozier part came out, then Billups.
Right.
I'm like, wow, like who else is going to come? Because I mean, apparently, I think it's a 31-person arrest, and there's 2 separate stings.
Yeah,
right? They have a poker sting and they have an NBA sting.
Right.
So
there's got to be more. I saw somebody made the Shohei Ohtani joke of picked a good time to leave the country because they're in Toronto for the World Series, and obviously the whole scandal with his translator. I mean, based on everything we've heard on the Shohei thing, he was not involved. Like, there's been so much investigation into it that, like, if he was involved, something would have come out.
There's a huge wedge placed between his interpreter and
right, exactly,
and the sports game.
But I still thought it was a funny tweet because obviously he is in Canada right now. He is in getting ready for Game 1 in Toronto tomorrow night of the World Series. That'll just about do it for us here on this show. TD, as always, appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, for sure, man. Listen, let me take the time and say you've done an excellent job. You've made a mark, and I don't think it should be next man up anymore. It just should be the man. Because I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate it.
You've done an awesome job.
You and me filling in, over the last couple of years on the station is what led to our TD Thursdays here. So next week we'll have to talk through it. I will be in Paris towards the end of next week, so I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but we'll have TD in as much as we possibly can. Always appreciate
you don't bring me back some coffee, we're gonna have a problem. I'm just letting you know.
I got to get gifts for all of my guest co-hosts.
I'll give you the money.
I got to get Corey. So we'll figure it out. But always great to have TD on. Tomorrow, Max Hers will be in from 9 to 10. We'll talk some Predators and get you ready for the football weekend. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. Keep it right here on 102.5 The Game.